We would like to welcome our speaker Rahul M and Ashok Kumar Rajamani. Rahul M is SBET at Cognizant Technology. Ashok Kumar Rajamani, Senior Manager at Cognizant Technology. Rahul and Ashok Kumar would be delivering an interactive talk session on Agentic AI-driven test automation development factory. To know more about Rahul and Ashok, please check the below link. Over to you, Rahul and Ashok. Please go ahead. Thank you.
Thank you so much, both Rahul and Ashok. It's a pleasure to have you. Many thanks. Over to you guys.
I think it's a pleasure for us, Aditya, and thanks for the introduction. So I think we wanted to actually have this session. First of all, we wanted to actually thank this ATGTR, right, for enabling actually this wonderful sessions, right, though virtually, but still, I think the amount of mind sharing that we do per past 2 days is really amazing. I think with that note, right, I think we just want to get into our session. Probably Rahul, you want to share your screen with the tech, and then we can go on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, can you all see my screen?
We can.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right. So a very good evening to everyone present here. As Ashok said, it's we are honored to be presenting this particular topic in ATGTR.
Just a small check. We see the slide is cut from the right side, and we are only seeing Ashok. Even the names are cut. Do you think that there is?
Oh, so from my side, it gets displayed properly.
Ashok, how do you see this?
I see the same. Whatever you're saying, right? I see only the.
Yeah, now it is full, but I don't know when you. Yeah, now it is coming.
Is this okay?
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. Fantastic. Yeah, as I was saying, it's a pretty exciting event that has happened over the past 2 days. Just wanted to thank the GTR team also for giving us the opportunity to present this topic. And I've been a part of, even Ashok and myself, we've been a part of this session since yesterday, and a lot of ideas that's being discussed, a lot of mind sharing sessions. So personal takeaways, there's been a lot from it. So thanks to the team. Right, now let's get into our topic for today. Yeah. So today's talk is not just another talk on automation. It's a story about the transformation, shift from the chaotic and the reactive QA to a very cognitive and autonomous factory that manufactures quality. So this is where QA stops being a bottleneck and it becomes a brain. Now, let's start with the world that we are living in today. Right? So modern QA, modern software is evolving faster than humans can keep up. More or less, the traditional QA can't match. Script-based automation reliant on manual oversight, and we have applications that has microservices, API, multimodal applications, daily releases. But QA, it's still fragile, it's still reactive, it's still brittle. So, I'm pretty sure, every one of us would agree, right? Those who are in the audience as well, how many of us have faced a situation where your scripts have failed because of a small change, pixel change in the UI? I've faced it so many times, right? So the funda here is that we are automating execution, but not understanding, right? So why traditional QA is not enough? We're surrounded by speed, but automation hasn't become smarter. Traditional QA fires tasks, but it doesn't think. It doesn't reason. There's no context, there's no memory, there's no autonomy. So in today's world where it demands intelligence, we're still running scripts. So what's the missing piece here? Here comes agentic AI.
Before
Ashok, do you want to say a few words? Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Rahul. I think before we go there, right, just to summarize, right, the point, right, see, automation is not something new that we are bringing it here, right? We have been living with automation for past like a decade or so. So I think we had seen automation right from test-driven, hybrid, and then with the lights of the scriptless coding or the code assistant AI, right? And now we have all this Gen AI Copilot, which actually assisted, and then we are moving into involved with the lights of Agentic AI, where the script itself understands what is the issues, and then it tries to actually solve the problem, right? That's where I think the world that we are living with the lights of Agentic AI and all is what it is. To summarize that, and then we are here to probably talk about more on the nuances or the latest nuances of Agentic QA, how automation is actually helping us in a day in, day out of in QA. Over to you, Rahul.
Yeah, thanks, Ashok. So we are still in the pilot phase of implementing it, but we want to share these ideas with you also. So why Agentic AI? So Agentic AI is not a tool. It's a new architecture that introduces systems that can perceive, plan, act, and learn. So just like skill testers, but at scale. This is a QA that reasons, a QA that adapts, and a QA that evolves. So basically, from scripts to making decisions. Right. So just want to talk to you about agentic AI versus traditional automation, right? So in traditional automation, the scenario is that, it's like, what step should I execute next? Whereas an agentic AI would ask you, what's the goal? What's the context? What's the smartest path that I can take? Example, I think the previous session also we were talking about how UI changes, right? How the traditional scripts can when breaks when a UI change. But whereas if you have an agent in place, an agent detects the change, searches for alternatives, updates itself, and then it keeps going. So this is an automation we babysit. This is automation that grows up. Should you want to add anything in this slide? Talk about.
I think like self-explanatory, Rahul. We can move on. We can add more insight later.
Thank you. Right. Now, how can we make agentic K even more smarter, right? Here's where the magic begins. We're using RAGs for real-time context. We're using self-healing scripts. We're using goal-based reasoning, multi-agent collaboration, context-aware planning, and predictive QA. All these put together is what smart agentic AI is all about. Now, what if your automation framework could tell you where tomorrow's bugs will be? That's where smarter agentic QA comes in.
So
Moving
before
on to
we
the
go,
next slide.
before we go to that, right? I think like the key pointers here. So Rahul talked about the RAG. I think I just want to correlate the daily. I would say like the day in day out issues that we face it, right? So whenever there is a script failure, I think early days where we actually go in and find based on the results we got, we analyze, hey, is it a script failure or is it an environment failure? I think RAG is what more important, right? We are using RAG as an LLM. I think the conception is the same, but we wanted to implement the same from past failures. I think it understands the predictability of the failure, right? Hey, if at all the object is not able to render for a certain time, I think it is predicting that it is nowhere. It is because of the environment lagness, so that it automatically enhance some of the wait time, right? So that it can actually withhold the script flow, and then the application flow together in sync. Self-healing is what all we know, and then the multi-agent collaboration is more important here, right? Because that's a flavor that Agentic is bringing. So we all know that we actually enable this multi-threading in our automation execution. What if we want to execute a multi-threading within multiple environment in place? That is something we have not done it, right? We had enabled that in the CI/CD pipeline, but what about the agent doing it? You trigger the script, you schedule, hey, out of 100 scripts, you run it in, I would like 20% in UAT, 20% in SIT, and 20% in dev, all in one go, right? This agent is how it is capable to run it and then do the execution, ensure that the comparison of the execution in all the environments in a single code. That's something interesting, right? The same thing, the predictive QA is also in good, I would say like an intelligent concept. We know that scripts are running, and we are all, there is an KPI that we wanted to measure from a first pass rate, right? I think predictive QA is more of, hey, if I want to run a regression suite, we just enhance based on the timeline. We reduce the executions. I mean, I would say that the volume of test cases or test execution that we do. Predictive QA is more of, hey, based on my previous run, what are the potential vulnerable areas that we have? the script, I think the framework itself, right, or the agent itself is understand what I think areas of test cases that we need to execute, so that it actually focuses only on the vulnerable areas, not the stable ones, right? So that's how it predicts, and then it intelligently actually triggers the script. That's the nuances of the agentic AI that we wanted to call out here. With that context, yes, Rahul, we can move on.
Thanks, Ashok. Right. I want to move on to a factory model. So why we call it as a factory, right? So factories solve three key problems that we face today. One is scalability. Second is specialization. And the third, it's consistency. That's exactly what QA lacks today. So if you want to give me if you want me to give you an analogy, right? So in a real factory, one worker doesn't build the entire car. So why should one script handle everything? So agentic AI turns QA into an assembly line for quality. Now, I want to get into agentic orchestration. The reason why I want to get into orchestration is because for the factory, this happens to be the backbone. So multiple agents, yes, they are very powerful by themselves, but without orchestration, they're pure chaos. So orchestration makes them a team. They share goals, context, and decisions. So the key line is that this is imagine like this is a supervisor of the factory. Okay, now let's go even more deeper. Now, what enables agentic orchestration? Like I said, we have spoken about MCPs. Had attended multiple sessions where people beautifully explained what MCP is all about. So, MCP connects everything, right from Jira, CI/CD, logs, APIs, graph racks, adds deep reasoning, and with RAG, and with memory agents that can retain history, and with observability hooks that can predict the failure. We're not just automating steps anymore. We are automating intelligence. That's where we want to get to. Should you want to add anything over here?
I think it's. I think the concept is just very good. So Rahul, it's your self-explanatory. We can move on.
Thank you. Right. So just wanted to highlight what's the role of agents in the factory pipeline here. So this pipeline brings order. So every stage, as you can see, right, every stage has an agent and every agent has a role. So this isn't a random workflow. It's engineered for a specific purpose. So the thing is, with all these agents, right, it's repeatable, you can scale it, and it's also measurable over here.
So
So
just wanted to add it here, right, Rahul? So
yeah.
this factory pipeline is something like we just wanted to enable this concept, and then this concept is actually in a proof of concept, right, which we wanted to implement. So it's a beta version that we had enabled, but for now, we wanted to share this because this is actually a potential, right? We had been doing this a typical QA lifecycle, right? But what if you connect this QA lifecycle with each of the agents that doing? If we really look into it, right, the first column talks about, hey, requirement analysis, your user story upliftment, test design, generation of test data, script execution, analysis, and reporting. Now, these are all actually not in terms of phases. Now, these are all actually we are evolving from phases to an agent world right now. You can see that these are all the multiple agents that has enabled for each of the phases, and how these agents are actually enabling the inputs from each of the different sources, and what is the output that it is actually integrating with this different application as over put together, right? This is how the overall, we can say about continuous integration of overall testing phases, right, in and go using this agent. So that's the concept here.
Thanks, Ashok. And we have been having tremendous success implementing some of these, which we can already see that's yielding a lot of results. Now, before I go on to the next slide, now how can we make it even more fast? I mean, even more advanced, right? So that's what my next slide is talking about. Now, these are what we call as add-on agents for advanced QA, right? So these aren't just helpers; they are actually specialists. Skilled at a particular task. We have the performance agent, we have the security agent, we have the flaky detector agent, which we have had quite a few success where it was quite intelligent enough to see, like, what scripts are flaky, what needs to be tweaked, what can be handled better, like identifying locators, like, much more robust, and bringing them up and adding them as part of your scripts. And also there's a reporting agent as well. So basically, right, it's like having a team of experts who never sleeps, basically. Right. Before I move on to the next slide, Ashok, do you want to add anything?
Yeah. So just connecting to this real-time problems, right? I think the greatest challenge in enabling these test runs, especially in CI/CD pipelines that we do it, right? When we trigger from each of the stages, right? I think these are these scripts that we run, predominantly on APIs, right? I would say like a backend actually. Flaky test scripts is what really challenging, because we all end up in enabling this API, right? Some of the APIs take some time in order to respond or probably get that hit to the server, right? I think that those are all the things that we wanted to bring in. There is a concept of contractors that is in place, right? We enable that in the thing, in the continuous integration world. But how imagine that these agents actually work with each of the upstream, downstream servers, and then continuously hitting, right, in each of the seconds, right, and getting the response, just to ensure that all the servers with respect to the agent that is hitting it is working fine, so that it gives an immediate feedback. In case if there is a flakiness of scripts in terms of slow responsiveness, I think we all know that we are in a world where each of the microservices, we have an beta and then the real or the predeserved API that we want to hit it. It automatically changes just to ensure that the functionality is working fine, but only it is failing because of the environment, right? Those are all the real challenges. It would be definitely helpful to address this. I think predictive quality analysis also we discussed earlier, and the biggest chunk is self-healing. As Rahul pointed out, I think each of the identified we were trying to analyze, that's an older word. I think self-healing is something like already came in, but this self-healing agent is something like it is not only looking into the possible combination, it is also actually looking into the time, right? So we, as soon as the scripts understand, hey, I'm not able to understand the object that I want to perform some action, it applies the self-healing, but there is also a time limit that is associated, because if you're looking execution in your continuous integration, execution time, it is what matters here. Self-healing with respect to the time is what it is potential to get it enabled via agent. That's a good feature over here. What do you all?
Exactly. Thank you, Ashok. Yeah. So I just we've just put a simple RAG workflow diagram how things work. So basically, what happens is that we get the input, and here is where the orchestrated agent is very important. So we have agents working together, receives the inputs, and then the orchestrated agent decides whether to give it to the LLM or the processor agents. Depending upon the input, it sends to the processor agent, and then where the additional context input uses text embedding, checking, and embedding happens, and then it then flows into the vector DB where you have a lot of structured and unstructured data as well. Now, once that happens, what the retriever agent is doing is it keeps polling a vector DB. As soon as there's an entry that comes into the vector DB, it processes the retrieved context, analyzes it, ranks it, masks it, validates it, and then sends it back to the orchestration agent. Now, the orchestration agent, once it receives the context from the retriever agent, it invokes the LLM, passes the context back to the LLM. The LLM then looks at it, reads at it, augments it. Then we have a quality analyzer also in place just to see the output from the LLM is pretty accurate, and then we get the output. So in a nutshell, this is what happens. Let me just go on to the next slide, if that's okay. So what we have done here is what we are trying to build, or what we have done so far is that using orchestration, we have built a factory model, and I just wanted to quickly wanted to just give a sneak peek on how we are doing the script generation. So the inputs, what we are giving, we are giving the test cases for the test design agent. It could be framework templates, coding standards, anything, right? And also environment configs, historical patterns that is from the vector DB. It's being given as an input. The context gathering mechanism is what we saw earlier, where the framework analyzer agent retrieves and it uses the reusable components, builds the page objects, and also slowly starts building the framework here. Now, in the heart of all these things, we have the MCP backbone, which connects Jira. In our case, like we're using Jira and also ALM, and also CI/CD, and also connects to observability dashboards for monitoring purposes and also context gathering mechanism. Now here is where the agentic workflow starts. So in agenting, the script agent assembles the final script. So basically we have the interaction. We have a lot of agents coming over here. Yeah, the interaction agent, the crawler agent, the framework integration sub agent. So the crawler agent is what I was talking earlier about, how it actually goes to the website, and it also crawls and identifies all the locators. And what basically it does is, once you give the URL, it gives you all the identified elements that you see on the page with the XPath locators, and it identifies, based on your test cases, what locators needs to come into your scripts. And then the framework agent actually takes that information, designs the XPath and the script for you. So, and with using the reusable component, also says something is already there. That agent then looks at and just polishes the code in such a way that okay, so and so things already exist, so let me reuse it. So, and then we have the test script runner generator as well, which prepares the scripts and writes the YAML files for your CI/CD execution. Now comes the real-time orchestration, which I've explained, where the context engineering feeds historical patterns by the rack, which I explained in the previous slide. And also under the MCP governance, it all works in parallel. Nothing is waiting for. It's not sequential. That's the advantage of having this factory model, where everything happens in parallel. Nothing waits for another steps to get executed unless your input is dependent upon your previous agent's execution. And then the output that we get has been so far resilient, and then framework compliance scripts. So we have seen that the robustness of scripts has been very solid, and the failure rate has also gone down. And it's also like CI/CD with all those self-healing and reusable components as well. Yeah. Ashok, do you want to add anything on this?
Yes, of course. I think the self-healing concept, the reusables that we had also discussed over a period of time. I think this test script runner, that's also an important agent that we wanted to actually call out here. The reason is, as we see that we put certain sets of data in a runner file, and then we execute it as a part of this multi-threading concept. I think the memory is also matters, for the execution of this multi-threading. I think this is a smart, I think memory, it understands the memory of the system or which of the server that is running, And based on that memory consumption, it actually auto scales. It's pretty much of the cloud services that we enable, I think it automatically scales and then it will run it. I think based on this, we just wanted to actually inherit that concept and then enable this in the test script runner generator agent. So it understands what is the memory size of each of the machines that it runs, and so that it actually balances the load of each of the execution. Let's say, for example, I have 3 different servers, which is actually hosted in my CI/CD, to do this executions. So I think understanding the responsiveness of the application in one of the servers, depending upon the internet, I think the capacity, and then it understand, okay, this execution will take some time, so that it auto allocates some of the actually scripts from one server to other server, and then so that it enables this auto scaling or auto allocating of the test scripts in each of the servers. Net, what it helps is we don't have to really worry whether the internet is slow or your script or even the application is responding very slow because of various challenges. I think we have these agents that take care of it. So which addresses this point of unaddressed execution, or unmanned execution. We have been talking over a decade, we put this automation script. That's a myth that we all have. I think that's what the understanding overall from a business standpoint. You execute the script somewhere in CI/CD server, or probably you go for an end of your day. You just schedule an execution. It runs overnight, and tomorrow morning it comes into it. I think those are the days where we have a lot of challenges in terms of some of the VMs getting lost or some of the VMs having very slowness. I think with this agent, it is addressed, and it is actually enabling those kind of thought process, which is realistic to this world. That's an interesting, I think, fact or the concept that we wanted to enable this, especially on the test runner generator agents. What do you run?
Yeah, thanks, Ashok. So what we're also seeing is that slowly, as we progress through these phases, right, we are going towards a world of complete autonomy. We have slowly started to actually not babysit through a lot of the phases that I've spoken before. For example, the framework script generation and also identifying locators and also script runner generator, all these things happen flawlessly with some very good results that we are seeing. So my next slide is actually talking about it. So in what phases we have implemented all these agents. So when we did the design and planning, we wanted to make sure that we wanted to keep this as much as agent oriented as possible. We want to use agents to do the job. So in the design and planning, the context agent, story enhancer, the design agent, and test case prioritizer agent has come into play. And then the build phase, like that based on the historical data, the data agent and the script agents for developing scripts came into play. And during the execution phase is where the executor and analyzer agent, where it actually decides what time, what's the best time the script should run based on the deployment activity. The execution agent is actually monitoring that. And once the execution finished, based on how robust is the script, that's where a flaky test detector agent has come in as well. And once that is done, after the execution, how we can optimize it, it does looks into the optimizing solutions as well, whether to either self-heal or these are actually defects, where the rationalization agent has a task to identify whether it should either self-heal or it should identify as a defect. If it is a self-healing mechanism, it gives it, hands it over to self-healing agent. And also a regression suite agent, which what it does is it goes through your list of regression test suites and identifies which are that regression test cases that has to be sunset and which ones we should keep, and also identifies what is uh, the kind of areas of test cases that needs to be run depending upon the impact on where the deployment has been done in test environments. And also, yeah, go on, Ashok.
Talking about this optimized space, right? We talk about this regression suite rationalizer agent. It is nothing. I think, like from a holistic view, if you just see, it is just in regression. You probably you taken critical regression, right? But that's not the concept here. It is getting one step more deeper, right? In terms of understanding the volume of regression, critical regression itself, and it understand how much functionalities or domain overall the stability is. Based on that logic, it actually segregates the critical regression and it runs in a multi-dimension, right? So we have in core regression, which we run from during this the SIT regression that comes in. We have in I think like super pack regression that runs in each of the defect fixes that you wanted to do it. In case if you want to run it certain set of test cases, it actually auto choose the test scripts that's going to be validate in and around the defect fixes, right? So it intelligently understand, hey, this functionality, this test script has to be automatically picked up. I need to run just to ensure. I think it is not breaking any of the other integration part. And most importantly, it is also have an very child subset, I would say, like that runs as a part of daily health check. Once this has been deployed, there is also an that can validate post production is also something. This is something it needs to it provides an overall. So that's that level of actually insight that it has is, and then it runs from a regression rationalized standpoint. So that the agent is that effective as such. What do you read?
Yeah. Thank you, Ashok. Yeah, so on the continuous improvement is where we are actually working on at the moment. We want to, we are building a reporting agent and a predictive dashboard agent as well, where it actually brings a holistic dashboard and trying to see where a complete autonomous dashboard where it actually brings everything together, right? How many runs we are doing, all these things we wanted to be completely agentic driven as well. So that's where we are at the moment, but we've had quite a lot of success in all the other areas. Yeah, Ashok, if you don't have anything to say, maybe I can go on to the last slide. Yeah. Okay. The strategic business impact. Ashok, do you want to take this one?
Of course, I think see, we had discussed about the agents, right? So we really wanted to actually call out why we are doing this. Of course, we all know the automation agents, everything to probably reduce the main concept of the cycle time, right, that we wanted to know. But I just wanted to emphasize how it is actually reducing. Reducing the cycle time is just a word, right? But for a real world of QA, especially in the world of the SIT or very short window that we have, I think it is very essential, right, how this is actually helping us to address all the core regression or all the validation that we do it, we even in a very shorter time period that we wanted to evaluate. Of course, maintenance, we all know we are all working in an agile world where I think there is each sprint, there is always infrequent changes from an UI or from the object at the backend that is keeps changing, evolving. I think it is all depends upon how this agents understand over a period of time, right? So while we talk about the process of our QA roles enabling into agile world, I think we are now entering in a world where these agents is getting into the agile ways of working, right from the the session walkthrough session from the technical team or from an BA team. What is the changes that is going in? It understands the changes right from your user stories in, and it sends that hey, these are the potential automation scripts that I need to go and change it, and that's where it's go and change based on it, right? Of course, there is always a human intervention in place. That is how these agents enable us. But however, I think that's the most critical part, right? Understanding the changes right from the user story, it gives a suggestion to the human, right, human in place, right? So and then he say, hey, these are the impact, and let me go ahead and change it, and that's where it gets a consent and go do it. Of course, that is covering the most of the test coverage. Test coverage, it automatically understands what is the area or what depends upon what is the regression cycle or the testing cycle. It runs and it fits the suit validation and runs it accordingly, right? Based on the demands, I would say. Of course, defect leakage, we always end up with multiple defect fixes, right? Within the SIT window or the testing window, you have multiple builds in place wherever you're focusing on your functional test. If you get a build every day, right? Multiple builds in every day. So that jeopardize our testing. I think with that agents in place, that gives a lot of confidence that whatever the defects that we capture in the lower environment and not that's and thus the defects is not leakage to the higher environment as well. Scalability is more important, right? As rightly called out, autonomous scaling, right? Autonomous happens in multiple aspects. One, your scripts runs, it sees the fail, it automatically understands why it is failing. It is also looking, hey, whether it is actually an environment failure or a test data failure, or it is sensing that there is a change in the requirement or the UI, and that's where it is getting failed. Those kind of scalability it runs, and most importantly, right, the scalability is actually extended to run it in multi-servers and then multi-browser and then multiple apps as well, right? If you are looking for a mobile automation also, I think these agents is actually very helpful in doing it. So that level of scalability that it do. Of course, the team productivity, as we talk about agents in place, agents are actually working hand in hand as part of our team. It is always getting human in loop. And then that's where we enable this, the productivity of team. When I say team, the agents plus the human together, and then that's where you get it. So it's kind of a team activity that we are looking from a process. So going forward, it's agent is part of our team. I think with that note, Aditya, I think we had covered all the slides and then the
Sure.
message that we wanted to.
Yeah. I was just trying to say you close to your time, even
Mm.
though we have time. So yeah, excellent. I would say very good coverage. Guys, any questions for Rahul and Ashok? Anything that you would like to ask? Yeah. So if people
I
don't
think
ask,
it's
yeah,
in
go ahead.
POC stage of cycle, but is there any agents you feel which is already available in public mapping with your agentic life cycle?
Right. Of course, there are actually multiple agents, right, that is available in the market, but we are actually working towards an closed customer, right, where we actually have an LLM being developed there. So because of that, we actually create an agents, right, with after the scripts. It is more of an we create for our customers. So we are not actually enabling any of kind of an I would say like market available agents actually.
Okay.
Good. Any more questions, guys? So there's one that I wanted to ask, like you have conceptually covered the entire, what do you call, life cycle, right? From basically whether it is from requirement analysis and then everything, whether it is user story upliftment, you talked about test design, script generation, reporting, and then you also talked about basically other add-on agents, right? But mostly, is it something that you, and what Rakesh also asked earlier, is it something that you are developing all of this in-house, that you basically are doing it, or is there something standard stuff that you are also building and then consuming, because there's no other information available for us as of now?
Understood. I think like that is a multi-dimension, right? I think within our organization, we do that for different the projects enabled from an or center of excellence. I think even from a project or I think client specific, that's where we wanted to enable. See, right now we all know that yes, of course, AI has been predominantly driving this. We wanted to do the thing. We are slowly getting into a phase where we have started with the baby step, and once we get into a mature place where we wanted to create this agent, make it to public, right? That's what we are also working towards, Aditya.
Okay, that's nice. So, is it basically for, like, for example, when we talk about scripting, there are different dimensions to it, and there are different basically other AI or agentic AI tools already in the market around all these things. So, have you done any comparative analysis with the competition? Because there are many which actually go through this cycle.
That's
Maybe
correct.
in, yeah. So, have you done any comparative analysis, and where is your
We started with, I think when we tried to do this, I think we end up with a lot of hallucination, right? To be very honest, right? So that's where, since it is very probably client sensitive data, we don't also wanted to expose it. But overall, from an conceptualized or the comparison standpoint, we did it. But the decision is more of from customer and us to drive this. Hey, let us take it. We create LLM ourselves so that it actually stays all the confidentially within our organization customer data here.
okay. All right. And what about, like, for example, if it is some kind of an ERP kind of an application which is more on desktop like SAP, how would this be able to handle, or is it web-based that is going to be handling?
I
Because
think,
there are multiple
yeah.
dimensions, but with respect to the scripting part and automation, how would it basically work?
So exactly, yeah, good question, Aditya. So I think I would address this question. See, predominantly we are working on this e-commerce. That is what we are trying to do. Our next step is work around with all the product based, like whatever you said, Pega, I think Oracle, and as well as we are trying to do that. But most importantly, each of them has their own products enabled. Let's say, for example, Oracle, they have their own probably libraries called XUnit, right? That they wanted to actually trigger it. So we wanted to try out with multiple combinations, but we had just started it, and then we probably going to extend this thought process to different, I think, a product-based approach as such.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I really applaud for what you have covered. Many, many thanks. So, Divya, can you bring the thank you slide, or Harsh, whoever is there, and then, yeah, we can welcome the next one.
Yes, sir. Thank you so much, Rahul and Ashok, for this wonderful session.